It was a Thursday night, one of those slow-burning spring evenings when the chill of winter still lingered faintly in the air. Her family had gathered at her parents' house, a big white colonial, floors that creaked under every step, and wine glasses that always seemed to brim right when someone was about to say something cutting. Her father thrived on playing host. Her mother lived for listening in. And her sisters, well, they carried drama like it was a side dish no one requested, but everyone ended up tasting. The reason for the gathering was her promotion. She had just made partner at her firm, apparently a major milestone. She'd told me a few days before, over coffee, half grinning while her eyes stayed on her phone. "I made partner," she'd said, as casually as if she were telling me she'd picked up oat milk instead of regular. "That's incredible," I told her, and I meant it. I reached across for her hand, but she pulled away to answer a text. By the time dinner arrived, I had convinced myself I was only being overly sensitive. I was proud of her. Truly. I had seen her grind for years. Early mornings, late nights, hushed phone calls with clients from the guest room while I washed dishes or folded laundry. I admired her dedication, even when it felt like she was disappearing into it. Her father opened with a toast, long-winded, meandering, but heartfelt. Her mother dabbed at her eyes, and everyone applauded. I lifted my glass too, smiled, even said something warm when it was my turn. But when I looked at her, when our eyes met, she rolled hers. Not a big, obvious gesture, just enough. Enough for her sisters to smirk. Enough for her mother to lean over and whisper something I couldn't catch. Enough for me to feel it. It wasn't just the eye roll. It was how she'd been all evening. Polite, detached, irritated at everything I said. When I offered her more wine, she replied, "I'm not a child." When I asked if she liked the roast, she shot back, "What kind of question is that?" I tried to brush it off, to tell myself she was just exhausted. The stress, the expectations, the weight of being the center of attention at that table. Later, as the night wound down, I slipped into the kitchen to help her youngest sister Liv clean up. She was the only one in that family who didn't speak in riddles or veiled jabs. She handed me a stack of dessert plates, then pulled her phone from her pocket to glance at a message. That's when it happened. The phone slipped. No dramatic crash, just a clumsy drop. It landed face up on the granite island, screen still glowing. The photo app open. A split second. That's all it took. I hadn't gone looking, but I saw it. A photo of my wife. Her face flushed, laughing in a way I hadn't seen in years. Her head rested against a man's shoulder. A man I didn't know. Not from work, not anyone familiar. He was younger than me, sharp-jawed, carrying that easy confidence that comes from never having to ask twice for anything. Then another picture. And another. Her in a black dress I'd never seen, holding his hand, curled against him in a hotel room, tipsy and glowing. Liv saw the expression on my face before she noticed the screen. "Oh my God," she whispered, snatching the phone up, but it was too late. I nodded slowly, calmly, hands still wet from the sink. "I didn't mean to," she started. "It's fine," I said. "It's not your fault." She looked like she wanted to explain, but I walked out of the kitchen, back to the table, back to my wife. She was laughing at something her sister had said. When she turned to me, it was with that same staged smile she wore around my family whenever she didn't want to start an argument. I looked at her, really looked. The curve of her cheek, the way her hand clutched her wine glass like she had something to prove. She had no idea I knew. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Not anger. Not sorrow. Just clarity. I discovered my fiancé and my father together in my own bed. Eventually, I carried the bottle in. She was curled barefoot on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, a cooking show humming on the TV. She glanced up as I set the wine down. "Thanks. You've been weird tonight." "Have I?" "Yeah, at dinner. All tense. And now you're acting like you saw a ghost." I paused. Maybe I did. Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." I shrugged, leaving the word to dangle in the air. She studied me a moment longer, then shook her head and turned back to the screen. I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and sat in the dark on the edge of the bed. I should have felt anger or heartbreak or something, but all I felt was bone-deep exhaustion. In the morning, she left early. A meeting, she said. Maybe brunch with him. I didn't ask. I didn't even say goodbye, just listened to the rhythm of her heels down the hall, the jingle of her keys, the slam of the door. Then I opened my laptop. I knew I couldn't go to live for the photos. It would put her in an impossible position. And truthfully, I didn't need more. I had already seen enough. What I needed now was context. How long had this been happening? What else had she stolen from me, quietly, behind the facade of our daily life? Funny how betrayal sharpens your vision. I started piecing things together. Old calendar events, travel receipts, credit card charges, photos she had posted online. Little details I'd once skimmed past now looked like puzzle pieces I had never realized belonged together. One stood out, a weekend in Chicago, supposedly for a legal conference. Each night she'd text me vague updates, long day. Tired. Love you. But in a photo from that trip, she wore the same dress from Liv's phone. The same bracelet. The same lipstick. That was 6 months ago. Half a year of deception. Half a year of sharing a bed, eating meals I cooked, making plans for trips we would never take. That night I didn't sleep. I replayed every conversation from the past year through a harsher lens. The little jokes at my expense in front of friends. The laundry list of things I forgot, which she wielded as proof I wasn't trying. The way she seemed more alive texting someone than talking to me. For so long, I blamed myself. My long work hours, my low energy, my so-called lack of ambition, a phrase she'd once thrown out in an argument she probably forgot. But now I knew the truth. It wasn't me. It was someone else. By sunrise, I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was clear. There's a strange strength in clarity. It strips away everything unnecessary, even when it hurts. I made breakfast just for myself. Eggs, toast, coffee. She returned around 10, breezing in with sunglasses still on, a trace of unfamiliar cologne clinging to her like a confession. Morning, she said, pouring herself a glass of juice. Morning, I replied just as easily. She didn't notice the difference. Not yet. That weekend, her parents invited us to brunch. Another family celebration. Her sister had bought a condo. I agreed to go. She seemed surprised, like she expected me to opt out, but I didn't. I showered, shaved, wore the shirt she once said made me look too serious. Maybe I was finally taking myself seriously. At brunch, I played the part. Courteous, attentive, even charming. Her family noticed. Her father clapped my back. Her mother said I looked leaner, more alive. You two should take a trip, she suggested. Rekindle things. After all this time, it'd be a shame not to. I smiled. That's a great idea. My wife didn't smile. She looked uneasy, as though she sensed the script had shifted but couldn't name how. Then it happened. Her middle sister, Jenna, was scrolling through photos from a recent trip to Tulum. She flipped quickly until one made her pause. Oh, she murmured, thumb hovering. It was my wife. Same black dress. Same man from Liv's phone. Only this time, it wasn't a blurry night shot. It was daylight, sharp, his hand fixed on her waist. Jenna swiped too fast, but it was too late. I saw. And so did everyone else. Her mother blinked. Her father leaned closer. My wife froze. A single beat of silence cracked the table in two. I can't remember who spoke first. Maybe Jenna stammering, that must have been a mistake. Or her mother, sharp and direct, who is that? But I do remember the sound of my wife's chair scraping against the floor as she bolted upright. Her napkin slipped to the ground like it wanted to escape too. He's just a friend, she insisted, too fast, too high. It's nothing. Can we not do this here? Her father frowned. A friend? You're sitting in his lap. Jenna whispered, I didn't mean. Before my wife's glare shut her up. I stayed silent. Not cruelly, just letting them close in on her, letting her feel what it meant to be caught. Was this in Chicago? Her mother asked. No, she snapped. Can we drop it? Her mother pressed on. You told us that weekend was a conference. We watched the dog for you. Her father stood, slow, heavy, no anger, just disappointment. Tell me it's not what it looks like. My wife turned to me desperate. Are you seriously just sitting there? I met her gaze steady. Do you remember your promotion dinner? I offered you wine, and you rolled your eyes. I told myself you were tired. But then Liv dropped her phone and I saw. The silence that followed was absolute. My wife's hands trembled. You went through her phone. I didn't have to. It was right there. And that's not the point. It is the point. I kept my voice quiet. From that moment, I knew. And I gave you every chance to tell me yourself. She looked around. The table, her parents, her sisters, the half-eaten cake. You're humiliating me. No, I said. You did that. I'm just here. And then she broke. Not physically, but in words. She lunged forward, tears brimming. It didn't mean anything. I was lonely and you. That was enough. I rose slowly, pulled a folded envelope from my pocket, and placed it on the table. That's the first draft of our separation agreement. Look it over. It's fair. No drama. Just clean. Her eyes widened. You all ready? You're ending this. I'm ending the pretending, I said. You left this marriage long before I did. I just finally stopped pretending you hadn't. She looked stunned, as if she hadn't expected me to walk away, as if she still thought I'd play the fool to keep the peace. Her father exhaled a heavy sigh. I think you should leave. Dad, she started. No shouting. No scene. Just the weight of his disappointment, final as a gavel. She grabbed her purse and left. The door closed. The room stayed silent. I stood there a moment longer, then excused myself. Outside, Jenna caught me in the driveway. I didn't mean to show you that, she said. I know. She hesitated then, but I'm glad you saw it. I nodded. So am I. That night I didn't cry, didn't drink, didn't rage. I packed a small bag, checked into a quiet hotel on the edge of town, and lay awake staring at the ceiling. And I felt it. Not peace, not yet, but the beginning of it. Because sometimes the hardest truths don't break you. They set you free. That night, when she lost my respect in front of the family who once believed in her, she lost more than just our marriage. She lost the version of me who would have waited forever. She lost the man who still hoped. She lost the quiet love she assumed would never walk away. And me? I found the door. And finally, I walked through.